Greetings, YouTube. LMS Tactical here. I hope everybody's doing well. I'm going to make a couple videos, follow-up videos regarding now we have, three shootings. Uh, Somebody made a comment on my first video regarding the El Paso shooting. And he asked a question. It's in the comments, and I'm so sorry I can't remember your name, your username. But it's actually, I've done videos on these subjects, but it's been a couple years, so they're buried way down in the videos, and it's probably a good idea to revisit some of this thing, or some of these topics. The concern he had was, and it's a great question, or series of questions, which is basically if you're a concealed carrier and you engage a suspect in or somebody that's involved in a mass shooting or a shooting. In other words, if you use deadly force against a bad guy, uh, how do you protect yourself from being mistaken as a additional bad guy, additional suspect, and taken down by responding police officers or even another citizen with a concealed carry? Um, it's a great concern, and the more that we're going to see let's face it, this stuff is on the rise, and we're going to see more of them. And hopefully, you are carrying your weapon if you're, properly trained and legally allowed to. It's something that you're going to have to consider. There's a lot of things to consider. You got to consider the legal aftermath, the lawsuits that are going to follow, and the investigation, and blah blah blah. Those are covered on older videos I've done, and I'm sure there's a lot of people on YouTube that have covered these same subjects. But I'll throw out my opinions, and if anybody has any other ideas or things that they use or plan on using, please share them in the comments. And for all of you subscribers, make sure that you check the comments out, because I'm sure we'll get some great ideas from some of my subscribers. So I was going to say, God forbid you're in a place where you run into something like this, but actually, if you're highly trained or proficient and you're carrying a weapon, I would want you to be in a position like this, because it's people that are the good guys with guns that we count on to get rid of the bad guys with the guns. So, politics aside, let's just talk about the tactics during and post event. So you're at the local Piggly Wiggly, Circle K, 7-Eleven, Wawa, or Target, wherever, and one of these idiots pulls out a gun and he starts shooting people, and you decide to engage him. The things that I would really want you to get into your head now to think about are, and this is a danger, I think, with a lot of people. They're not trained to think the way that people that have a lot of training are. And what I'm talking about is multiple suspects. If you put down the suspect and you are tunnel visioned in on that person, so he's laying there dead or dying, and you've stopped the immediate threat, it's very common for people that are not trained to assume wrongfully, and many times and fatally often, that was the only threat. An incident comes to mind, and I don't remember the date. I mean, I've seen so many videos and so many of these shootings that I can't remember the whens or the wheres. Somebody here will remember it. I think it was another Walmart a couple of years ago, and a husband and wife team went into the Walmart, and it's all caught on surveillance camera. And when they walked in, they separated. And the husband goes down, and they're in there to kill people, and it's a suicide mission, I think. They go in there, and he starts shooting people, and there's just a Joe Blow citizen like you or me, and he's standing there looking at the Oreos or whatever, and he sees this go down. He pulls his own concealed weapon, good, tactically approaches the bad guy from a position of advantage, and he's getting ready to put this bad guy down, but he doesn't see that the dude's wife now comes up behind him and basically shoots him in the head and kills him before he can get a shot off. They go on to have a big shootout with the police, and they're laying in aisle 7 or whatever, and they kiss each other goodbye and blow their brains out. A lovely couple. But that incident is just one of many that really drove home the point of not having tunnel vision and never assuming that there's one suspect. You know, it's not uncommon for bad guys when they're going to commit a crime. Let's just say not a mass shooting, although I'm sure we'll see that eventually too. But let's just say that you know, the dude's going to go rob a bank or something. He may have his buddy or two buddies go in 10 minutes before the robbery and be reading pamphlets and posing as regular customers, you know, and they're armed too. Now, if he comes in 10 minutes later and he robs the bank and there's no pushback, he leaves. Now they leave, or they're just witnesses, you know, and they give bullshit information. But if he's engaged by a security guard or an armed citizen, now these people that you thought were just other victims or patrons of the bank, now suddenly they are armed, and you don't realize it, but now they're in the fight and they're taking you out. So that's why you have to keep your head on a swivel. You know, you put the threat down. You're always scanning left, right, behind you. Check, see who's coming. Now, that's an important thing. The other thing is, how do you identify yourself as a good person after the incident or even during the incident? Myself, and I don't even know the legalities of this, but my plan has always been that if I am in a situation like that, now that I'm a retired police officer, I might pull my badge out, my retired badge, and just yell, you know, police officer, you know, please don't kill me, you know, to anybody that's responding. Hopefully that would work. You know, when I was an agent in D.C., I always carried a very thin little vest. I mean, one of the type that construction people wear when they're out in the street, or like a crossing guard would wear. And it was like, you know, high glow green or some shit, and it had police on it. And my plan was to throw that on real quick as soon as I had an opportunity to safely do so. Now, you can't do that if you're not a cop. But what you can do is not stand there with your gun out. Once it's safe to go ahead and holster your weapon, I would suggest that you do that, but you also move away from where you were and get in a position to where your back is against cover so that nobody can come up behind you. And you're also somewhat concealed, and you're scanning and you're looking and you're watching for additional suspects. You have to have your senses on high alert. You know, do you hear somebody chambering around? Pay attention to every little thing. Make sure that the bad guy's not just laying there stunned and he had a vest on and he still got his gun in his hand. You have to, there's a lot of shit that goes with this, and I realize it's a tall order, but this is life and death. So whether you want to recover his weapon, that's a choice you're going to have to make, but make sure that he is properly down and he's no longer a threat and cannot become a threat again. I would feel comfortable taking possession of the weapon if it was in a crowded situation. But I would immediately get myself with my back to cover, and the difference between cover and concealment is concealment hides you, but cover protects you. So I would want my back to a wall, a concrete pillar, or something, so that none of his compatriots could come up behind me and ambush me. That way, I'd also want to have a good view of where the first responders are likely to approach. And then I would yell, I would have my hands in the air, put my hands up in the air, and I would yell out, "Good guy here, good guy. I'm the guy that took him down. I'm armed. Please don't shoot me." And you yell this stuff out loud. I'm the good guy. I'm the good guy. Armed citizen. I put him down. My gun is in my right, waistband, whatever. And keep your hands high above your head. And I would do that as soon as the first responders showed up. Even when I heard him coming down the hallway or whatever the fuck I heard. So, that's pretty much what I would do. Some of you may have some other ideas, and please, by all means, share them. If I think of others, I'll do a follow-up. But the key is to, for not everybody's been in a deadly situation. And I can tell you from experience, it's extremely hard not to have tunnel vision. And tunnel vision means that you're locked into what you're doing. You know, you just shot somebody. And so it's very easy to be focused on that person and not be able to break your attention and everything, so that you're not seeing peripherally what's going on around you. One of the ways to break that up is to move your eyes. You got him down, your weapon comes to the low ready, which is, you know, so you lower your weapon, but where you can still, it's still in able to come into action if you need it. You haven't reholstered, but you're looking around and you're focusing, because that's breaking your concentration from this guy. Yeah, you don't want to do that until it's safe. I mean, obviously, if this guy's still thrashing around, you know, it's not unheard of for somebody to have multiple weapons on him. So, you know, make sure that you have the upper hand and don't do things that are careless. And the key thing is communication. You know, you're going to have to let people know who you are. Now, you don't want to let the bad guy's friends know who you are. So, if you're in the middle of something like that and another person appears with a weapon, you're going to have to communicate with him, man. You're going to have to communicate with this person. You know, you don't want to get in a gunfight with somebody that's in the same position you're in, but you don't want to be shot by that guy either. So, you know, if you're in a position where you're in a room full of people, I'm just trying to cover some scenarios here. You know, you're in a shoe store in the mall and you hear gunfire outside. You might ask, is anybody in here armed? And if some guy says, yeah, I am, just, you know, use your intuition. Yeah, so are you an off-duty officer? What's your story? Are you concealed carried? And if you don't get any negative vibes, you're going to have to trust it. And all right, man, everybody else stay in the back. You and I, tell you what, I'm going to go out. You cover the left. I'm going to come out and cover the right. You know, you got to communicate with people. You know, what are the odds of that guy's partner being in the shoe store? Is it impossible? No, but it's very unlikely. So it's a risky situation, and there's no perfect way to handle something like that. So you do everything you can to minimize the risk, and you know, remember that you know, the idea is to stay alive and to keep people alive. All right, so hopefully I've answered that question and given you something to think about. Give me your comments, hit like, and share the video if you think it's worthy. In the meantime, stay safe. LMS Tactical, I'm out.